After a rough loss in Memphis, where they really let a game get away from them, they come into San Antonio and they take care of business. No Victor Wembanyama for the Spurs. I didn't realize that coming into this game. I knew he was out one of the previous games, so I don't know. I just forgot that. So coming in, you just had to take care of business, and that's what the Kings did, winning by 27, 140 to 113. Now it didn't start out all that great, but they recovered well enough. And this was a game won just through pure offense. I didn't think they played particularly well defensively. There were spurts, absolutely spurts of good defense, but they definitely didn't win this game through their defense. They won this game through their offense. They won this game shooting 47% from 3. They won this game going 22 for 24 from the free throw line, combining three-point shooting with free throw shooting. It's a miracle. And that's how this team is designed to win games. They're designed to win games through their offense, especially when you're starting Malik Monk. Because boy, was Malik Monk horrendous on the defensive side of the ball in this game. But also, he was amazing on the offensive side of the ball in this game. So that's the way this is designed. DeMar DeRozan was pretty much the same thing. And when you have Kevin Huerter and Keegan Murray combining to go 7 for 9 from 3, you're going to win a lot of basketball games. Both Keegan and Huerter played well against Houston offensively. Both of them played poorly offensively against Memphis, and now both of them play well here against the Spurs offensively. We need consistency from them. We don't necessarily always need both of them to combine for something like 7 for 9 from 3, but we absolutely need offense from one of the two to really win games. And then there are going to the hope would be that there would be some games, some off games where you have both of them not shooting well, and that's when, other guys can take over. And if you lose a game when both of them are off, you say, well, that's unfortunate, but you should be able to pull out some of those games. But the problem this season has been both of them are just off every single game. And so those games that you pull off, even if you pull off 40% of those games, that's still not a winning record because they're not performing night in and night out. And so now we're hoping that both of them can kind of build on this and build on having 2 good games within the span of 3 games. The Kings, they didn't start this game off well at all, and it just seemed like poor focus. And this can kind of at times be the problem with this starting lineup when you're starting both Malik Monk and DeMar DeRozan. Your defense just isn't going to be great. And so you have 2 offensive rebounds that lead to 2 Julian Champagnie threes. It really was just defensive rebounding, transition defense, poor closeouts. It just kind of felt like poor focus all around, poor energy. You had Keldon Johnson coming in, and in less than 2 minutes, he had 10 points. And Julian Champagnie, he kills us every time, but putting a guy like Malik Monk on him was hard to watch because Monk's just not a good off-ball defender. Short closeouts, I mean, he's just not a long player, so he's going to have a tough time bothering shots. He's helping off the strong side corner. He's not getting up on him after these offensive rebounds. And so it was just more poor 3-point defense for the Kings, killing them. This is the 3rd time this season we've seen Julian Champagnie go off against us. And then it kind of, after the 3-point shooting for the Spurs slowed down, then they just started getting into the lane in that first quarter every single time. And you had Sabonis going to the locker room because he had a chipped tooth against Zach Collins. We saw some Alex Len minutes early. Saw four of those minutes. And so things were a little awkward early, but then it was Kevin Huerter who came in and actually provided a spark. He hit 2 threes. Then you had Keegan hitting a baseline fadeaway. So that offense started rolling. Kings started getting some stops once Keon came in the first quarter. Thank you for actually playing Keon Ellis in this game. And Keon played over Jay Crowder. So Mike Brown obviously thinking that he didn't need the size from Crowder in this game. So he goes with Keon. And it was a good decision because, I think at the start of this game, the Kings just were lacking exactly what a guy like Keon Ellis provides, where they were just slow, moving around the court defensively, not getting those rebounds, not flying out to shooters, not being disruptive. Keon came in, he provided that, and then when you're getting offense from Kevin Huerter and Keegan Murray, both who were aggressive from the three-point line, but also within the three-point line, the Kings were very quickly able to come back into this game. They just started scoring with ease, and they were doing a lot of it through the pick and roll. De'Aaron Fox was just coming around Sabonis screens, getting straight to the rim, finishing with his left hand high off the glass. He was getting to his spots pretty easily. And so after just a horrendous start where it looked like things could possibly get away from the Kings, obviously with no Wembanyama, it always felt like the Kings should be able to bring it back. But all of a sudden, it's just a tie game at the end of the first quarter. But I never believed that the Kings would actually make this a blowout because they haven't done that this season. Because we went with Orlando Robinson, which was interesting. We had Isaac Jones, we had Orlando Robinson, we had both of them at different times. We had Alex Len when Sabonis was out. So we went with 4 different centers in this game. Those Orlando Robinson minutes were interesting to start the second quarter. The Kings tried to find him inside a lot on those rolls, and like there was some good and there was some bad. He made some very good decisions. His passing is pretty impressive. He made some very good passes, some of it coming off the short roll. He hit Keegan for a 3, and they were really trying to find him inside to exploit the Spurs not having Wembanyama in there and just not really having size. But then there were also some bad moments, some fouls, some maybe poor shot attempts. So, I thought it was a solid game from him. But yeah, it was kind of a weird start to the second quarter because we had him in there. And then Sabonis comes back in and you get the whole Zach Collins ejected after a 3rd foul, flipping off the ref. 3rd straight game where an opponent gets ejected from a Kings game. A very weird stretch here. But not only the 3rd straight game, also it was the 4th player to be ejected. And I don't think Tari Eason got ejected because I don't think you can get ejected after the game. But also the 5th player just to have something weird happen. But yeah, a very funny moment was Zach Collins flipping off the officials. But from that point on, the Kings took control offensively and won. Well, there were a couple plays that I just loved from Malik Monk. And they were transition plays where he just pushes the ball straight into the paint. He doesn't hesitate. He doesn't, when the Kings have a man advantage, what they do so often is they kind of dribble the ball up, kind of stop at the 3-point line because they feel like since they have this 3v2 that something should just magically fall to them. But that's not how it works. Like, these are NBA defenders. These are long defenders. They know how to cover ground. If you just stop the ball at the perimeter, these NBA players, especially with the limited amount of time, because everyone's coming back very quickly, you have limited time to take advantage of these transition opportunities, and they sit on the perimeter and nothing opens up. But what Malik did multiple times in this game is drive it to the basket, attract the defenders, and then hit the open players. He hit Keon in the corner for 3, and I'm always very confident when Keon is shooting open threes, even though he went 1 for 4 in this game. But I was very confident at that one going down. It was just the Monk and Keon show. Keon absolutely everywhere defensively. He had 4 steals and a block in 21 minutes. It's really amazing what he can do and the type of steals that he can come up with where it doesn't feel like he should be able to reach the ball. And you can just see the way he baits players into certain passes and he can pick them off. So he would get the steals, he would start the transition opportunities, and then Monk would go from there. And Malik, he went 3 for 8 from 3, but then it was just mainly the pressure he was putting on the rim. His passing, he threw a behind the back pocket pass to Sabonis in the pick and roll. That was an insane pass. So I just love the tempo that Malik Monk was forcing the Kings to play at, and Keon also being a big part of making that tempo be very, very, fast pace. It was kind of a disappointing end to the quarter, though. I loved the middle of the quarter. The end of the quarter was a little disappointing because even though the Kings didn't give any ground and they remained up 10 by halftime, which is fine, it just felt like it could have been more. and it felt like it could have been more because the Kings just weren't getting very many stops at the end of that quarter. Like I mentioned, Monk helping off strong side corner on Julian Champagny. Like, why would you ever think that's a good idea? And then just the Spurs were generating open threes after every offensive rebound. And Kings got lucky on some. And also later in that quarter, I think when the Kings have their starting unit out there, sometimes things can get a little clunky in transition because you have Sabonis. He's going to run down the middle of the court every time, straight to the rim, as he should. But then you have DeMar and you have Keegan. Keegan, he wants to go to the rim every time, and DeMar wants to go to the rim every time. So you have three guys that want to go to the rim off the ball. Obviously, whether it's Fox or Monk on the ball, they should be wanting to go to the rim as well. So everyone's going to the rim, but there's one play in particular. Sabonis is going to the rim. Keegan cuts kind of in front of DeRozan, and then I think Fox feeds the ball to DeRozan, who wants to drive. And it's not necessarily wrong for Keegan to go to the rim there, but I think he just has to space to the corner most of the time in transition because you have Sabonis who's going to go straight down the middle of the lane, and you have DeRozan who's going to come from the wing, and he wants to catch and drive every single time. So there were just a few missed opportunities there, but DeRozan, he took over and kept the Kings up double digits to end this half. And the Kings were just able to get to the free throw line, which was really nice. And like I said, knocking down their free throws 22 for 24. And so they were up by 10, and that's good, but I was still worried because we've seen these moments where it feels like the Kings should be up more. It feels like they should have capitalized more on certain situations. And then they come out with bad energy in the third quarter. And that's pretty much exactly what happened. I thought the Kings came out, they were lazy, like gambling for steals to kind of bail themselves out of actually having to play defense. Monk and DeRozan, the main culprits to this bad defense. But just kind of some lazy switches. It kind of felt like they were moving in slow motion a little bit. And, they were getting some baskets, so they were still ahead. But it definitely worried me because it felt like a script we'd seen before. And then you had Keegan take that the block call, and then Mike Brown challenged and lost it. But from that point forward, after that stoppage, the Kings really turned things around. Also, Mike Brown may have lost that challenge, but apparently he had won 9 straight before that. So, and Matt George, he tweeted that, I think it was him that tweeted that Mike Brown should be in most improved conversations, which I thought was pretty funny. He has been good with his challenges this season. But the Kings were able to turn things around after there's like a few moments where Monk just losing Champagny off the ball, DeRozan not being up on him and fouling him on that three-pointer because he just should have already been up on him, but he's closing late. But you had Fox get a huge and one around a bunch of defenders. Keegan hit a big three, and that was just so relieving to see Keegan knock down that three in a moment where it felt like the momentum of the game could have swung either way. And that's the type of three that swings the momentum the Kings' way. And those threes are just, that's what decides basketball games these days, if you can hit those threes that really sway the momentum. And then with no Wembanyama, with no Zach Collins, when Bassey was out, or even when he was in, but mainly when they were playing Jeremy Sohan at center, there were just times where the Kings were just either throwing the ball straight up to Sabonis, or he was just getting it off the offensive glass every time. He was just dominating the paint without the two centers for the Spurs. So I was glad to see him take advantage of those mismatches. And then exactly what I was talking about with the transition plays and pushing it to the paint. Malik Monk did exactly what he was supposed to do. He drives in transition, drops it off to Sabonis. And Sabonis, I can't remember, he made a basket or he got fouled, something like that. Then Malik actually, after that play, drew an offensive foul, which was nice. But later in that quarter, in the third quarter, Fox had 2 possessions. The first possession, he could have driven in transition. The Kings had numbers. Orlando Robinson looked very open in the paint. And if Fox just drives, he's going to attract the defense. And either it's going to open up one of the 2 corners, because the Kings had shooters in both corners, or it's going to open up either a layup or the lob to Robinson right underneath the rim. The Spurs could not defend at all, but instead, what does Fox do? He stops way out from the 3-point line and just throws the ball into Orlando Robinson. Robinson catches, defense is already on him. He turns, takes a bad hook shot, misses it. Then just a few possessions later, Fox has another opportunity to take the ball to the rim. Again, man advantage for the Kings. He can drive, either get a layup or open up one of the two corners. Instead, what does he do? He pulls for a 3-point shot. Now, he was open, sure, but that's not the 3-point shot we want. He could have absolutely made the shot, there's no doubt, but it's just higher percentage if he drives, kicks to one of the corners. Those off the dribble threes are just lower percentage shots than if he's feeding one of those corner shooters or getting a layup inside. So it's just something that the Kings should be able to capitalize so much more on these transition opportunities if they were just able to take it to the rim. And you don't have to be out of control going to the rim. You just have to take a few dribbles inside. You don't have to be going super fast. Just taking one dribble inside the 3-point arc is going to move the defense enough. Then we had the non-Sabonis minutes for the last 3 minutes of the third quarter. And that was the key to the game, because it's like we're either going to let the Spurs back in here or we're going to survive these minutes and win this game easily. And Orlando Robinson, he made a really nice pass from the wing to a cutting Fox. So again, his passing looking very nice. But other than that, the Kings offense didn't look good. It was a lot of Fox dribbling around, not a lot of ball movement, just not consistent enough offense in those minutes. And it was without Sabonis and without DeRozan. So that is a change. Usually Fox and DeRozan, at one point in the season, Fox and DeRozan were paired, and then Keegan was paired with Sabonis, and instead it flipped. And I did like a move that Keegan made towards the end of that quarter where he had Stephon Castle in him. A lot of times when he does that, he dribbles it way out to the perimeter and just passes the ball. This time went straight at him, took him into the post, and finished over him. So that was very encouraging to see. But overall, I didn't like the ball movement at the end of the third quarter. So then, but the Kings still had a good lead. So it was okay. They played well enough defensively. The Spurs just not a talented enough team to make us pay there. But then coming out in that fourth quarter, still without Sabonis, still without DeRozan, the ball movement improved so much. And they came out, they ran a beautiful play. It got Keon Ellis going downhill. He kicks out to Fox for a spray three, exactly what you want. Fox knocks it down. Keegan was just making strong moves inside offensively and was also super strong inside defensively, both with some great rebounds, some block shots, just making guys finish over him. And there were a few weird turnovers. There was a moment where Fox drove, just threw the ball to the other team. I'm not sure where he was even trying to go with the ball. Another play, Huerter just kind of loses it, like in between a pass and a dribble, something, some weird play. But I'm okay with those turnovers because of what the Kings were trying to do. They were trying to move the ball, and it was working when they weren't turning the ball over. So you can kind of afford some of those turnovers if you're going to be moving the ball as dedicated to moving the ball as they were. There was some bad transition defense moments that made it like a little sketchy. The Spurs coming back within 14. Malik Monk guarding Jeremy Sohan in the post for some reason, and that was like actually our matchup that we wanted. And we like missed a few chances inside. And when you miss inside, a lot of times it's going to be a run out the other way. But the Kings put that all to bed by just knocking down their threes. 3-point shooting, it's crazy what it'll do. It's crazy how if you're missing your threes, you have to play a perfect game to win. If you're making your threes, you can do so many things poorly and still win a game. And you don't have to be perfect, and you can still win by 27. Because Huerter knocked down his threes in that fourth quarter. Keegan did, Monk did. Everyone was knocking down their threes. Colby Jones did. Like, come on. Even Doug McDermott. So it was just everyone making their threes in that fourth quarter. But it's just about seeing this type of 3-point shooting consistently. No, not 47% consistently, obviously. But just Keegan Murray, Kevin Huerter, those guys knocking down threes consistently again. Even DeMar DeRozan was hitting outside shots, but I'm pretty sure 2 of them he had his foot on the line, which that's something Bulls fans warned me of, that he does that a lot. He definitely does that a lot, and is definitely annoying because he's leaving a point on the table. It's because he stands behind the 3-point line and he like walks into his shots. So he's always walking in and stepping on the 3-point line. But this moves the Kings to 11-13, and this is the type of offensive performance that we expected more often, and this is the type of offense that we expected to be able to get us way more wins in the regular season. Because I really don't care what you think this team's ceiling is, what you think this team is capable in the playoffs, defensively, what this team does. Like, this team should not be 11-13. This team should be way better offensively. And you see what happens when the players that are supposed to be the shooters on your team make shots. Going through some of the individual performances, you had Sabonis just dominating inside. Don't think he took a single jumper in this game, nor should he have, because Spurs don't have Wemby or Zach Collins after a bit. 22 points, 16 rebounds, 4 assists very efficiently, 8 for 9 from the free throw line, and only 1 turnover. And when he's going inside as much as he was, only having 1 turnover was very good, and that one came late in this game. DeRozan, 8 for 15 from the field, 23 points, was crucial in keeping that lead towards the end of the second quarter. Not good defense, but some very good and efficient offense. De'Aaron Fox, 9 for 17 from the field for 22 points, 8 assists, and only 2 turnovers. This was just a very nice kind of floor general game for Fox, doing what he needed to do when he had lanes to the rim. He took them, except when it was in transition, because that's just what he does, and it annoys me. But he took those lanes to the rim, made the right passes, and it was just a nice game where Fox only has to take 17 shots. That's not a lot of shots for him. And I mean, when you look at the Kings starting lineup, 22 points, 23 points, 22, 22, 17. Off the bench, Huerter, 16. So very well-rounded offensive performance. Monk, so good offensively. So good offensively in this game. 7 for 15 from the field, 3 for 8 from 3. He had 9 rebounds. He had 8 rebounds super early in this game, then only got 1 more. I was hoping he would go for the double-double in rebounds. His career high is 10 rebounds, but 22.6 assists. He had 3 turnovers, so that breaks his little 2-game streak of no turnover games. I think that's the streak he was on. Or maybe that wasn't last game. Maybe it was the 2 games prior. I can't remember. But he's been so good offensively since entering the starting lineup. And again, the worry is just his defense. I mean, it's gotten very noticeable. Like he's never been great defensively. It feels like it's gotten worse. Maybe I'm just noticing it now that he's in the starting lineup, that he's playing consistently around 35 minutes. But man, his defense is bad. But then you have Keegan Murray. Very nice game for Keegan. 7 for 11, 3 for 5 from the 3-point line, 17.6 rebounds. And he had 2 blocks as well. He missed his first couple of shots, and it was like, here we go again. But I loved how patient he was, how in control he felt. He was just using his body to knock defenders off balance and then go into his shots in the mid-range. Obviously, hitting his threes, getting inside in the post against smaller defenders. And then on the defensive end, such a strong game from him. Cleaning things up inside when the Spurs would beat Malik Monk or DeMar DeRozan, and there would be chaos at the rim because the Spurs finishing was not great. But Keegan was affecting shots. He was pulling down rebounds. Just such a good defensive game from him. Kevin Huerter, 24 minutes, 6 for 7 from the field, 4 for 4 from 3 for 16 points. Hopefully this is the game that gets him on track, but that's probably my 3rd or 4th time saying that this season, so I'll believe it when I see it, when he puts together consistent games offensively. But he came in and provided the spark the Kings needed because they were getting down pretty big early on, and he's the guy that helped us come back. And just watching all his 3-pointers, just straight swishes every time, was just so nice, because when he shoots now, I just don't expect it to go in. So for him to be hitting these above the break 3-point shots. Like, that's something he's really struggled with. And the Kings in general are much better from the corners than above the break. So it's so nice to see those go in. And then Keon playing 21 minutes. It's kind of funny. It was after Mike Brown explaining that Keon's not playing because he wants to play Huerter and because he wants to play Size and Jay Crowder. I understand the Jay Crowder part. And then also the logic behind wanting to play Kevin Huerter over him. I can understand you see this team having a higher ceiling. You need the shooting of Kevin Huerter if he starts playing well. Problem is that Huerter's just had so long to start playing well, and he just hasn't been. Obviously, he had a great game today, but consistently he just hasn't been. Keon just needs to play. I don't care who it's over. It shouldn't be, oh, we need the size this game. Jay Crowder's going to play over him. It should be, oh, we need the size this game. Jay Crowder's going to play over Kevin Huerter. I mean, that should be how it is. Because the energy and defense that Keon provides, this team needs so badly. And then you have Orlando Robinson for 9 minutes. He went 2 for 4 from the field and scored 5 points, had 4 assists, a block, a steal, a rebound. Had some not so great moments when he caught the ball inside, where he's taking shots that maybe he shouldn't. Had some bad fouls defensively, but then he also had his good moments where he's finishing inside and he was making super good decisions offensively, passing the ball, and he was providing some deterrent around the rim as a shot blocker. So he's just an interesting player. When he comes in, I'm not necessarily super confident that he's going to make all the right plays. He's a little shaky, but there is something there. But then you have Isaac Jones. He played 8 minutes, had pretty much zeros across the board except for a turnover and a foul. But I feel like Isaac Jones is kind of the safer pair of hands at that backup center spot. I think Isaac made a mistake. He made a mistake early on. I can't remember what it was, but Mike Brown pulled him out. He pulled him aside and he's talking to him. And he did go back in later in the game. Sometimes I do feel like Mike Brown will see one mistake from a young player and pull him because he feels like he needs to explain what they did wrong right then. I do feel like Isaac Jones has definitely earned more minutes here and has earned some trust to make some mistakes. But obviously you want to see what you have in Orlando Robinson. So I like, splitting the time in a game like this where we do win handedly. So you give both of them a look because obviously there may come a time where you need to play Orlando Robinson. So I definitely like getting him minutes. And then in garbage time, saw a nice block from Colby, knocked down a 3 confidently, got inside, made a floater. So good minutes from Colby in garbage time. The Kings now head back home to play Utah. And then they go on the road to play New Orleans. This is such an important stretch. The Kings they got to put together a nice 3-game win streak here. The Kings haven't won consecutive games since Miami and Toronto, November 4th, November 6th. That's how long ago it was. They only have 2 win streaks, and I'm saying a win streak as consecutive games because they had a 3-game win streak, a 2-game win streak. Other than that, have not strung games together. And these are 2 bad teams in Utah and New Orleans. New Orleans, I mean, they're just not healthy. They have some guys back, but they're just not healthy. And then when it comes to Utah, I know Markkanen was out in their game today, I believe. And they're just not a good team. So these are 2 teams that you just have to take care of business. And also, we got to get some revenge on New Orleans here. When they're down bad, after obviously going 0 for 6 against them last season, we got to get some revenge. But this is a gift. And I wish we could have gotten the win in Memphis, but we didn't. Okay, so we got to move past that. You can still win 4 out of 5 here. You got a gift with Wemby being out. Now, who knows, Markkanen may be out. New Orleans has a whole bunch of injuries. Like, you got to take advantage of these weak teams and get back to 500. Anyways, that is it for this episode of the Roll Report. As always, shout out to the members of this channel, No Rain and Joe Mama, for the support. And I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.